Welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in a logical order. You can begin with the basics and then move on to advanced concepts. You can also start with a speed track and build an application from scratch, which should pique your curiosity with a desire to learn more. Well, let's write an application using methods. That's one sure way to put this all into perspective. What you see behind me is the game rock, paper, scissors running. It's a straightforward game where the user selects either a rock, paper, or scissors. The computer, using a random number generator, selects a rock or paper or scissors as well. Rock breaks scissors, paper covers rock, and scissors cuts paper. That's what determines the winner. Those are the rules. So, to create a game like this, we have buttons for the user to make his or her selection. Behind the scenes, the computer makes its selection as well. Determining the winner is also done behind the scenes. As you can see, when a rock, paper, or scissors is selected by the user, those buttons become unenabled. The winner is displayed. In order to play another round, the reset button is pressed, which enables the three buttons and disables the reset button. No global variables are used in this program at all. Rather, after the user makes his or her selection and after the computer makes its selection, the data is passed to other methods to determine the winner. A hierarchy chart shows how this is done. On the top row, we see the buttons. These are the events we program when one of these buttons is pressed. Well, rather than code all this stuff into those buttons, which could be done, but would be unnecessarily complicated, we break the program down to smaller, easier to manage functions or methods that do specific tasks. That way, we don't have to know how to flip the buttons, or play the game, or click the labels, or make the computer selection, or even determine the winner. At least not at once. Rather, each of those pieces is a smaller method or program snippet which we program individually. Each of those methods could be flowcharted. And this is an especially good idea if the program is complex. But often the methods are small enough where we can actually write the code for them without flowcharting. Watch this. This is how we design rock, paper, scissors. Okay, we're going to look at an application called Rock, Paper, Scissors, the old game. And we're going to do this using methods. So we'll be able to get that in place. So we're going to go through the development process. We're going to figure out how well we're going to do this thing and make it work. As you can see from the screen, we can create an application that's going to let the user play the game of rock, paper, scissors against the computer. The program works as follows. The user selects his or her choice of rock, paper, or scissors. You can use buttons or picture box controls, leaving and displaying the artwork. The computer makes its choice via a random number generator. A random number is in the range of 0 through 2 is generated. If the number is 0, the computer has chosen a rock. If it's a number 1, the computer has chosen a paper. And if it's a 2, the result will be a scissors in the computer's choice. And both choices are then displayed, and the winner is selected based on the following rules. If one player chooses rock and the other player chooses scissors, then the rock wins. Rock smashes scissors. If one player chooses scissors and the other player chooses paper, then the scissors wins. Scissors cuts paper. If one player chooses paper and the other player chooses rock, then paper wins. Paper wraps rock. And if both players make the same choice, we have a tie. So when I first looked at this thing and tried to figure out how to program it, it seemed, well, how am I going to do this? This seems kind of weird. I wasn't sure where to start. So the way you start is you take a look at this and try to analyze what you're actually going. You don't jump to the computer right away. We go forward, we figure out, well, what do we want to know? We're going to look first. What are we trying to figure out? Well, we're really trying to figure out that who wins the game after each player makes a choice of either rock, paper, or scissors. That's really all we're looking for. We're going to play the game, but this is what we want to find out, who actually wins. The computer's going to win. It's going to be a tie, or you're going to win. It's one thing or the other. So what do we know? Well, we know that a random number is generated in the range of 0 through 2. We also know that if number is 0, then the computer is chosen rock. Number is 1, the computer is chosen paper. Number 2, the computer is chosen scissors. The user then selects his choice of rock, paper, or scissors. So we're going to have the user actually select something like that. We can probably do that with buttons or the picture box or whatever we wanted to use there. And we end up with something like this. We have a user selection, we have a computer selection. These are methods then that we'd have the computer do. So one place is where the user is going to select things, and one thing is where the computer is going to make a selection. Those are isolated methods to what we're looking at here. We also want to know the winner selected according to the following rules. If one player chooses rock and the other player chooses scissors, then rock wins. Rock smashes paper. If one player chooses scissors and the other player chooses, one player chooses scissors, yeah, the other one chooses paper, then scissors wins. The scissors cuts the paper. And if one player chooses paper and the other chooses rock, then the paper wins. Paper racks rock. And if both make the same choice, the game must be played again to determine the winner. And it looks something like this. We've got, these methods. Rock smashes scissors, or these are the results. Scissors cuts paper, paper wraps rock, and a tie. So we have those particular things right there. So that leaves us, how do we get there then? How do we actually put this thing together? And that, I think, is the toughest thing for programmers to try to figure out when they're building something, an application like this. A winner is selected according to the following rules. If one player chooses rock and the other player chooses scissors, then rock wins. Again, rock smashes scissors. You've heard this over and over again so far. If one player chooses scissors, the other chooses paper, then scissors wins. Scissors cuts paper. If one player chooses paper and the other chooses rock, then paper wins. Paper wraps rock. If both players make the same choice, the game must be played again to determine the winner. We have a tie. So we also want to let a random number generator pick for the computer. So we'll figure out something like that. That'd be a method we'll use. And we want to let users select the rock, paper, scissors from 3 buttons or picture boxes. We'll simplify this and use buttons probably to make this all happen. Then we'll determine the winner based on the rules above. So these rules then will become part of how we're actually going to figure out who the winner is. So let's take a look at this. We can kind of throw a mock-up form design. We know we're going to have a rock selection, a paper selection, scissors selection in buttons. So these will be methods, button methods, that are going to do something. We also have a reset button here because we want to clear it, and an exit button to get out of the game completely. And we're probably going to display the computer pick, display the user pick, and display a winner. So it's relatively straightforward and simple as we look at what our form might look like. Something like this. So we'll design something like this. So what do we need to do? Well, we're going to disable these buttons after the user selects something. And we're going to enable this particular thing. This thing will be initially disabled, this reset button. But once you disable these buttons here, you're going to display the winners. And so you want to be able to reset button, which will clear this and reset it for another game to be played. So that's what we want to do there. The exit button can stand on its own because we want the user to be able to exit anytime they like. So that's really what we're going there. So that's something to think about, that we're going to have these special things happen to these buttons here. Okay, so forward. If we look at it from a hierarchy standpoint, if we create a hierarchy chart, and that's one thing I should go back up here once really and look at. When you start looking at a form that you tried to create, the buttons are initial methods that you're going to have to code these. What you don't know, or you have to figure out, is what other methods are you going to create on your own to make this program flow nicely and be fairly straightforward and simple and easy to read. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 methods we're going to be creating here: a rock method, a paper, scissors, a reset, and an exit. So we can put that in place here in our hierarchy chart. A hierarchy chart is going to allow us to kind of define all the methods we're going to put together. It's not like a program, a flowchart. It's basically just it's looking down below and seeing from up in the air, what do we need to do to make this thing work? Well, we need to create a rock method, a paper method, and a scissors method. These are buttons we know are going to happen. We're going to have a reset method and an exit method. So we know that much. Then we have to think about, well, what's going to happen when the rock hits, when the user clicks rock? Well, if we look at it, we're going to have a flip buttons routine. We want to be able to enable these or disable these guys and enable this one. So this flip button routine will do that. It'll reverse it every time we do that. If we hit rock, paper, or scissors, we want to turn these guys off. If we hit reset, we want to turn these guys back on and this guy back off. So we're going to be flipping buttons. Probably the same routine can do that. So one method can probably handle those particular procedures. If we look on further, once we hit the flip buttons routine and we've gone rock, paper, or scissors, we're going to play the game. Otherwise, we're going to, in this case of the reset, we're going to flip the buttons and clear the labels. So basically, we're going to wipe things out so a new game can be played. But the play game thing is we're going to go in and do something. What are we going to do? How are we going to play this game? We picked rock, for example. Well, play a game. What are we going to do? Well, look at it. The computer's got to make its selection. And then we got to determine a winner. That's really all we're doing here. We've made the selection. The computer's got to make the selection so then we can determine the winner. So we can go through that process. So we can code these things slowly and go through this process. And as we code these things, we can kind of check them off that we've got this part done. What happens after the computer selection is done and the determined winner is done? Well, we end up displaying the winner. We have either a tie game, the computer wins, or the user wins. So that's going to display on the screen and make all that happen. And finally, we're going to flip the buttons back. It's going to reset back to what it was originally so we can play a new game. So it's going to be an automatic type thing. So that's really all we have to do to get this thing working. So since we kind of have a handle on how this is going to work, we can start to put our form together. We know what this is going to kind of look like, so we can do that and make all that happen. So let's go to a Visual Studio form and try to put something together. I think what I'm going to do right away is open up my common controls. I've created something called rock, paper, scissors methods, we're calling it. It's a new version of something. I'm going to go ahead and grab a label here, put it on here. This label is going to have some properties. Those properties are going to be, well, let's go with rock, paper, and make this a title. And we'll actually go ahead and create the font for this thing. Raise it about to a 14. Make it bold. And lay it in the center someplace. We'll adjust this later and see how it's going to actually look. Let's make this a 16. Be a little large that we're going to actually use in the rest of the program. We know we're going to need the 4 buttons, or 3 buttons for the user selection. So we'll click on a button here and bring that onto the screen and put it right here. And we'll go ahead and name it, or give it a title of rock. In fact, let's make it scissors. That's the biggest word. We want to size it according to the biggest word we have here. So we'll do that. Put scissors out there. We'll go ahead and create our font. We'll make our font maybe 14 and make it bold and see how that looks. And of course, size it so it fits the word scissors in there. And it's probably nice to make it square, so we'll kind of put it that way. And we can look at it right here and see what is its size, 96 by 77. It's probably, let's see, it's row size. We can look, and the width is 96. That's going to fit the word row. So let's make our height 96 as well and come up with a button that looks somewhat square here. That's about how we want it to look. We also want to give it a background just so it looks slightly a little different. So I'll give it a back color. That's really what we want. And we want something that's, let's go to the system here and look at something with the web here, the custom. We can look at something grayish, maybe something like that. That's not too bad. That gives it kind of a color. And we'll give this guy a name. We're going to call it BTN Scissors. And that's that. And we can quickly do a copy and do a paste twice. Make 3 more of these guys and just simply name this guy rock, this guy paper. Give it a name of button paper. This one button rock. And then adjust them so that rock, paper, scissors comes into play here. We've got them in that sequence. I'm going to go ahead and align these guys right away. Align their tops and format, make their horizontal spacing equal, and then center them on the form. We might change this form a little bit. We'll center it on the form so it's centered horizontally. We'll combine all this stuff later. So that gives us our 3 buttons and what they're going to look like. Let's do a quick save here. And next thing we want to do, we want to be able to display the labels of the computer pick and the user pick. So I'm going to go ahead and create a couple more labels here. This label right here, we're going to go ahead and put here. We're going to make it, we're basically going to take this label and change the font to 14 and make it bold so it stands out. And we're going to call it label computer pick. So LBL. We'll make a copy of this guy, move it over here, and call this thing LBL user pick. So these will display rock, paper, scissors for both the user and the computer, whatever they happen to pick there. It's always nice to put some kind of a label in front of it so you know what you've actually got here. So what I'll do is I'll grab another label. We'll bring it down here, and we'll simply say this is going to be the computer pick. And give it a font of bold and 14. And make a copy of it and call it user pick. And we kind of want to line all these guys up so they look good. The worst thing can happen is scissors will be in here, so I'm going to go ahead and type in the word scissors in my label for text. We're going to actually clear this out later. And I want to put it in this one too. Again, this is the worst case. Rock is smaller. And then we can kind of adjust to see how we like its look here. We're going to kind of put this guy in here. What we're going to do is we're going to center it, text align it by making it centered. And same with this one, making it centered. That looks fine. Take the whole thing here and kind of format and align their tops, or we can do their middles. And then we'll format and horizontal spacing, make that equal. Looks like it comes up. Then I kind of want to hand process this thing a little bit. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to grab this guy and move him a little bit over here like this. And I'm going to take this one and move it a little over here like this. And I'm going to take these two and kind of adjust. Actually, it looks pretty good right now the way it is. It's spread out enough. I might want to just center the form and bring the form in a little bit more because we don't really need all that space there. And kind of leave it like that. And then take this whole section and center it on the form horizontally. And that puts it right about where I'd like it. Now recenter these guys horizontally and the title. And that looks pretty good. Okay, we also need another thing down here. We're going to need a label, actually several labels. These guys are named. We named these. Computer pick and user pick. We did not name these. We don't have to because they're going to be labels that are just going to be sitting there saying user pick, computer pick. But we're going to have three labels down below here, which is going to show us who won the game. And so let's grab a label here. We're going to grab one and we're going to make a copy of this guy. So I'm going to grab one here. And there it is. I'm going to go ahead and say that I want this one to be user wins. And a nice exclamation point at the end of that's great. We want to make it a 14 as well. So we're going to change the font to a 14. And we're going to make it bold. And we're going to make it back. We're going to make the foreground color red. So we've got our fore color right here is going to be red, so it stands out nicely. Looks something like that. Okay, and we need to do anything else with it? Well, we want to put it right around here, and we'll center it in the form later when we actually get to it. we're going to need to give it a name, and we'll call that name LBL You Win. And that puts that in place. So we're there. The next thing we want to do is we want to create another label. I'll make a copy of this guy. And I got a user wins here. I'm going to change this one now to computer wins. So we'll go ahead and put that in here. Again, I don't have to use the same formatting I used for the other one. So this looks really good right here as far as that goes. So computer wins is here. We're going to call that one then LBL computer wins. Just like that. And we'll lay that thing up here, something like this. The next thing we're going to do is do another Control V, and we need a third label here that's going to say tie, and that'll be it there. So we've got that thing in place. So that's sitting there. So that will go up here as well. I'm going to take all these guys. I'm going to align their. Oh, you know what I want to do too? Before I even do that, they need to be invisible. So this one's going to be invisible. This one's going to be invisible. And this one's going to be invisible. Because we don't want them showing. Now I can put them all up here. In fact, we can just use this. This is kind of centered, I believe. Format, center, and form. Perfectly. Great. Now we're going to take this thing, use it as the model, bring these two along with it, and format, align their tops, and format, align their centers. Now they're together on the screen, and they're invisible. We can save right now, do a quick check on this to see that they're all okay, and it's looking good. And that looks pretty good right now, what we're seeing. And the buttons are all there. Our scissors are sitting here, so we see the format. It's going to look like this when we actually get there. It'll fit on the screen. Looks fine. We might even tighten up a little bit more, but right now it looks fine. We need 2 more buttons, of course. We're going to grab, we can grab the same ones and just adjust them a little bit. So we're going to grab the rock here, bring it down here, and this is going to become our reset button. And we'll just simply say reset. And we'll shrink it down a little bit. Doesn't need to look like that. Kind of like make it look like this. Put it right about here in the corner, and call it button reset. Make a copy of it. Lay it in over here, and call this our exit button. And that's it. That'll be called button exit. BTN EXIT, and we're good to go there. And it looks like it's pretty well aligned here. Yeah, I think they are. So now what we can do is we're ready to actually code at this point. Well, our reset button has to be enabled, not enabled. So this is not going to be enabled. So we'll look at the enable property right here, and we'll say false to this because it'll be off, and we'll turn this on. These things will be enabled, but we'll turn them off when the time comes, and we get going on that. So that pretty much is it. Let's save what we got. And next thing we'll do is we'll code this thing. And we'll code based on our hierarchy chart as we're going along. Now that you've seen how to design this application, let's code it. We'll use the hierarchy chart as our checklist. We'll code the easy stuff first. And our methods call will actually help comment the program. We'll do that in the next video in just a few days. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos. And if you get a chance, please subscribe. That way, you'll be notified when something new is available. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.